Hello everyone. This is chapter 12. Let's talk about the services marketing. Okay. These are the learning objectives. I'm not going to read through them. I want you to read them. Okay. That's what you should have. Be able to understand, describe, or recognize after finishing this chapter. Okay. Let's look at the service. I'm sure you all have you tried the Airbnb. I have tried that. I have tried that in America, in the U.S., and also tried that in Taiwan and I believe in another city. I forgot. In Asia. So you can use Airbnb in many places. Okay. And for Airbnb, they use service marketing to help customers have a feeling of belong anywhere. Okay? Basically, it's a home sharing business. Okay? It has on average 3 million listings, and in 65,000 cities in 191 countries, and it's part of this sharing economy. Okay? And it's $15 billion, in revenue right now. Is growing to be 335 billion in another 5 years. So $335 billion. That's pretty good. Okay? So if you look at the services as are part of our U.S. GDP, our services are larger part of GDP than goods. If you look at this here, this is the total GDP in the pink area here, right? And then this is service, this is goods, okay? And if you look at it in 1980s, this is the total GDP, and this is part of goods and services, right? And you see that the service is not that much, right? Over the years from 1980s up to 2015, you can see goods part of GDP is growing, okay? And the service is growing much faster. Now, actually, the service sector is contributing more in dollars to our GDP than goods that we produce. Okay, this is a service industry dominated country. Okay, so what is services? Okay, services are the intangible activities or benefits that an organization provides to satisfy consumers' needs in exchange for money or something else of value. That's services. I can give some examples here. What are services? Like education is service. Right? You're here to get a degree. This university offers you an education. That's a service. You travel by airlines. That's a service. You go eat a restaurant. That's service. Okay. There are 4 I's of services. I'm sure you're all familiar with 4 P's, right? There are 4 I's of services. One is intangibility, meaning you cannot really touch it as if it's a good, right? If it's good, you buy a cell phone, you buy a loaf of bread, you can touch it, feel it. But services, you can't really, it's not it's intangible, okay? And inconsistency. If you produce a good, you can easily make it very consistent. But the services is hard to be consistent. So inconsistency is not a characteristic of service. Inseparability. What do you mean inseparability? When you go buy something, buy a jar of milk, let's say, or buy a computer, right? You don't even know. We normally don't know who made them, right? You don't know who made the product, the goods that we're buying. And so the producer or manufacturer and the good, are separated. But in service, you cannot separate the two. The service provider and the service provided or rendered, like teaching, university education. I'm the service provider, I'm teaching you this class, and my teaching is my service, and you are the recipient. You can see that we cannot separate, the service provider, the service itself, and the service, recipient. That's you. Okay? And 4 is inventory. It's almost impossible or very hard to keep inventory of services. You see, a haircut, for example, you can have a haircut today, but you can't have inventory of like 4 haircuts for the next few months. You can do that. But for goods, of course, you can carry inventories. Okay? Idle production. Idle production capacity occurs when the service provider is available, but there's no demand for service. That's what we call idle production capacity. Okay? Service. So inventory carrying costs for services depend on the cost of employees and the equipment. Okay? Let's say start with like a real estate agency or hair salon, right? Let's say real estate agency, the service they provide, to buy a house, sell a house, that you can see the cost of carrying that inventory is still possible, but it's probably not costing too much, right? And the insurance company probably carrying costs is higher, right? Dry cleaner, even higher. Auto repair, higher. Restaurant, hotel, amusement park, airlines, hospitals. The cost, inventory carrying cost is high. For airline, for example, or for hospital, basically, if the airplane takes off, the unsold seats are gone. You cannot sell them again. Okay? It is really high cost of maintaining inventory. Okay? There is something called the service continuum, right? A service continuum. What is a service continuum? Service continuum consists of the range of offerings companies bring to the market, from the tangible to the intangible, or product dominant to service dominant. Okay, that's what we call a service continuum. Okay, and when we classify services, we can classify services into delivery by people or equipment, or classify them as for profit or non-profit, or government sponsored. Okay, that's different type of services. For example, Southwest Airlines, right, is delivered by people or airplanes, right? HP is another one. A university is a non-profit organization, and then we have state, local, and federal governments, okay, that are providing services. This service continuum shows how offerings can vary in their balance of product and services. As I said, like teaching, university teaching, education, that's a service-dominant offerings. Yeah, virtually, everything is the service, right? There's no product, components of that. Okay, that's everything is above this line here. The same is with nursing, and almost same with the theater service, right? And with advertising agency, there is the service domination part. There's also product dominated part offering. That's tangible, like advertising. Okay. On the other hand, if you look at it, go buy salt, right, or necktie, or dog food. They're virtually, they're mostly product dominated offerings, right? They're very tangible. Okay, you can see, feel, touch it. Okay, but what about a house? There's a house, of course. There is the product dominated part of the offering, but there's also part that's service dominated. Okay, what about the tailored suit? Okay, and there's a tangible part, product. Then there is the service dominant part. How well the suit is suiting you, or making you feel wearing it very comfortably. Okay, so you can see from tailored suit to fast food restaurant to television, air travel, they all have different degrees of service domination versus product domination, or so in other words, they're balanced. Okay, So there's a balanced item equally weighted between products and services. And then there are service-oriented versus product-oriented. Okay? This is the service continuum we're referring to. Okay? And service can be classified as equipment-based or people-based. Right? The service is provided through people or mostly through equipment. We give examples of equipment-based, like automated self-service, ATM machines, and no people involved, right? Online brokerage, you buy some stocks there, right? Automated car washes, right? You just drive your car through, and it's all automated, okay? No service provider there, okay? Were operated by relatively unskilled operators, like motion picture theaters, right? Someone is not highly skilled, are showing you the movies. Dry cleaners, right? Dry cleaners, oftentimes they just take your order, take your clothes, and send to somewhere. Taxi cabs, right? Or it could be operated by highly skilled operators, like electric utilities, airlines. You need a really skilled pilot to fly the airplane, or computer networks. But all these are equipment-based services. Then there are people-based services. It could be by unskilled labor, like lawn care, right? Security guards, janitorial services, right? And then can be offered by skilled laborers, like appliance repairmen, like the Maytag man, like plumbers and caterers, those are skilled laborers, or by highly skilled persons, like professionals, like management consultants. Some of you eventually will become management consultants, business consultants, accountants, or lawyers, highly professional service providers. Okay? So services either as equipment-based or people-based. Social marketing. Let's talk about social marketing. Right? That's the service, providing services, right? And that's a must for many nonprofit organizations. Make it social is a mantra for many nonprofit organizations, like the American Red Cross. And you can watch this American Red Cross video if you would like to. Okay? For nonprofit organizations, the key is communicate with the public. The volunteers and donors, they have to raise money, for the cause. Okay, they have to follow many of the same principles as for-profit businesses. They have to run like that. They use images to convey stories, set their goals, and measure their progress. That's what they do. Make it social. Okay, for successful service organizations to operate, to run, right? They have to understand how consumers make a purchase decision, okay? And just like a product company, right? Product organization. They have to understand how consumers evaluate quality. They have to determine how to present an advantage over competitors. Services have experience and credence properties that can be difficult to evaluate. Sometimes, like experience properties, like do you like the bank teller's service at a bank branch office? Or if your car is being fixed by a car mechanic, how do you evaluate the repair work? Looks like car is running. Is it really fixed? Has he really fixed the problem? Or the problem is just, reduced or mitigated, okay? So that's what we call it credence properties, okay? So consumers use search, experience, and credence properties to evaluate services. That's what we do. There are things that it's easy to evaluate. There are things that are difficult to evaluate. And what are the easier things to evaluate? Most products are easier. Most services are more difficult to evaluate. Let me give an example here. Like this, from clothing, you buy jewelry, your furniture, you buy houses, your automobile, buy cars. These are all products, right? They're easy to evaluate, right? They're high in search properties, okay? And you search for your cars, search for your jewelry, your clothing, your furniture. You can evaluate to see if they're good, bad, long-lasting, high quality, good quality, price ratio or not. Okay? Then there are the services like a medical diagnosis, right? Auto repair, root canal. Ooh, think about that. Legal services, they are high in credence properties, okay? So it's very difficult to evaluate, you know. How do you know the root canal is really done well? Maybe you had that toothache again, next day. Auto repairs, that's something we really not sure, Yeah. You may can find the second day the problem, recurs in your car, okay? So these are the high in credence properties. And then there's something in the middle here from restaurant meals, vacation, haircuts, childcare. They have part of the product, part of services. They're high in experience properties, right? We can evaluate that. Okay? That's what consumers use to evaluate the experience, search, evaluate services. Okay? In how consumers purchase services, assess the service quality, there's a gap analysis. What do you mean gap analysis? Gap analysis is the type of analysis that compares the differences between the consumer's expectations about and experience with the service based on dimension of service quality. Okay, to see between their experience and the expectation. Okay, expectation versus experience. There are different dimensions of service quality. When we say that, the company offers great service quality, right? What do we mean by that? What kind of things are there when we say service quality? There's reliability, okay? There's a tangibility, responsiveness is another one, right? Assurance, another one. Their empathy, they have empathy, the service provider. That's the different dimensions of service quality. Okay? So what is reliability? Reliability is the ability to perform the promised service dependently and accurately. For example, is my flight on time? Okay. What's tangibility? There's appearance of physical facilities, equipment, personnel, and communication materials. For example, like are the gate, the plane, and the baggage area clean? Right? That's tangible. Okay? Responsiveness is a willingness to help customers and provide prompt service. For example, give me examples. Are the flight attendants willing to answer my questions? Okay? Assurance, that's knowledge and courtesy of employees and their ability to convey trust and confidence. Okay? For example, the question would be, are the taxi counter attendants, flight attendants, and pilots knowledgeable about their jobs? Better be, right? Especially the pilot. Right? Empathy, yeah. Are they caring, individualized attention provided to customers there, okay? Do the employees determine if I have special seating, meal, baggage transfer, or rebooking needs? Okay? That's the 5 dimensions of service quality. Okay? Sometimes we know that there are failures in maintaining good quality service, service to customers. Right? There could be service failures, right? And so it's very important to monitor and offer guarantees. Okay, the studies have shown that only 5 to 10% of dissatisfied customers complain. Think about that. Only 5 to 10%. 90 to 95% of customers, they don't complain. That does not mean they're happy. They're not happy, but they just don't tell you. They're dissatisfied, right? Instead, they switch or make negative comments. Ooh, that's really bad, huh? Then companies, you need to respond to service failures. You need to offer service guarantees with 2 parts here, service guarantees. Commitment to good service and promise to compensate if service is poor. Have you ever been driving on highways and see the big 18-wheeler trucks in front of you? Okay? And then in the back of the truck, there's 800 number. Say, how is my driving? Call this number. If you call the number, you see the driver is not driving, properly, not very friendly or professionally, and you're mad and you call. Guess who is going to answer the call? Company's management. They want to learn about your evaluation of the behavior of the drivers. Okay? And service encounters. Right? Customers contact and relationship marketing. Because service, remember, service is between service provider and service recipient, right? Service encounter is very important, like this Hertz car rental, how the representative is dealing with you, okay? So you can perform customer contact audit, to use that to see how the service encounters are done and performed. A customer contact audit is a flowchart of the points of interaction or service encounters between consumers and the service provider. Okay, like a customer's car rental activities. Okay, you use that, to audit. Okay, this example of like Hertz car rental. Customer contact audit for car rental agency Hertz. Green boxes is for customer activities. Orange boxes are employee activities. You see here, in this audit, okay, the customer contacts the rental company, right? And then for the company side, the employee side, they receive customer information. And then the customer arrives at service counter to get the rental car, right? And then the customer receives customer information here, and then access reservation system, right, on the employee side, and customer takes bus to a car and departs, and then the employee assign a car to the customer, right? Customer returns the car to the service lot, and then his employee will inspect the car, okay? And then perform periodic maintenances, prepare the car for the next customers, update the car status in the reservation system. On the other hand, the customer after take the bus to the car, return the car, and they checks in, right, and receive customer information here, and receive bill for the rental. Okay, this is the contact audit for the state agency to ensure that they provide good service. Okay. Okay. And you all heard about the 4 P's of marketing, right? Do I need to refresh you, refresh your memory, remind you? You should remember them all, right? The 4 P's of marketing. What are the 4 P's? Product, price, place, and promotion. But for services marketing, there are 7 P's. Okay, we have 3 more. Okay, first there is a product or service, like in branding. Okay, there's McDonald's, Sprint, Red Cross. Okay, and there's price. There's off-peak pricing. What's off-peak pricing? Charging different prices during different times of day or during different days of week to reflect variations in demand for the service. If you buy airplane tickets, you notice, if your trip includes a weekend, you're going to pay a different price. Why is that? It's because airlines want to charge businesses more than charging customers when they're on personal vacations. Okay? There's a place, distribution, and there's a promotion using publicity or public service announcement for promotion. These are the 4. These are the 4 P's of marketing, and also is 4 P part of 7 P's of service marketing. For services, in addition to the 4 P's, they have 3 more P's. Okay? One is the people, service provider. There's the internal marketing, which is the notion that service organization must focus on its employees or internal market for a successful program can be directed at the customers. Okay, and then there's the physical environment. Okay, the people, the physical environment, and the service location, and the process. Okay, that's the 7 P's of service marketing that you'll be tested on that. Okay, make sure you understand everything here. Remember that. Okay. This one shows the different prices and packages how to have match with the demand to capacity. This is the here y-axis is the capacity, the percent of the rooms available, and then there's this is hotel management, right? Then this is time from Monday through Sunday, right? In week 7, that's the low season. They have airline contracts that pretty much is fixed here. And during the week's low season, they have more groups and conventions, businesses, right? They have transient guests a little bit. They have weekend packages a little bit, right? Don't have that many loyalty program guests. And there's some time out of commission for renovation. But during the high season for the hotels, the group conventions are lower, smaller, okay? Or no conventions. There are more transient guests, a lot of weekend packages. That's for consumers, okay? For their weekend going out or vacations. And there are a lot more loyalty program guests. You know, frequent flyers, mileage or rooms that you can use, okay? This shows different prices and packages. This is JetBlue's way of using a marketing dashboard to gauge their profitability, right? The airline, JetBlue airline, the operating income or loss per available seat flown 1 mile. Available seat flown 1 mile, and how much money they make or lose. That's how they assess the profitability, okay? The operating income or loss equals the yield times the load factor minus its operating expense, okay? The yield could be, that in cents, let's say their yield right now is 9.83 cents, right? The load factor right now says the percentage 82.1%, and the operating expense is 8.25 cents, okay, per available seat flown 1 mile. You can see if you yield times load factor is about 9.83 times 82%, but 7 something, right? 8 cents. And then the expense is 8.28 cents. That means, this they're going to incur operating loss in this case, okay? That's what they use to assess their profitability. Service in the future. In the future, as we see, you can imagine there will be more newer, better services, right? There will be a variety of choices, but 3 key factors that you need to consider as a service provider or service marketing. One is technological development, new technologies. Okay? The second is understand the service delivery and consumption, how the service is delivered and consumed. And 3, social imperative or sustainability. You have to consider sustainability in services, okay? You can skip, you can watch this video case on your own if you want, okay? That's all for the chapter.